I have a few things. It's not about spirituality. It's about something else, and it's about a few habits
Yeah.
and other things I have.
Yeah, sure.
The thing is, what should I start?
Whichever one you like.
Um, I would like to start with my habits and with my friend.
Okay.
So I have a good friend.
Hmm.
We talk every day,
Yeah.
and I know him since I think 70 years. But the last days he isn't talking to me for some reason.
Yeah.
And normally a few months ago, everything was fine. I felt good. And I also found a good psychologist.
Mm.
And she didn't want to work with me because I took a drug.
Hmm.
And she only knew from that because of normally I had 3 sessions with her, and she made a session with her husband, and her husband wasn't a real psychologist. He was a healing. He was a healer, alternative practitioner,
Mm.
and he asked me too much questions, and I felt very bad after it. And then we had 3 weeks pause, and then she said, when I'm clean, we can have in April another session.
Mm.
Then I had another session with a woman in another city.
Mm.
It was I went to the train, I went to that woman, and I had already a meeting in April with that woman. And then I filled 3 pieces of paper, and then she said, "Here's no place
Mm.
free." So I am now here alone with me. And I had last year an experience with a spiritual teacher. That was my main problem.
Mm.
And before it, I did a method in psychology. It called a radical allowance. It's
Mm.
working with parts of the inner child,
Mm.
and it helped me a lot. But I
Mm.
went to a spiritual teacher, and it changed my whole system. And since then, everything changed. My stepmom threw me out of home,
Mm.
and now I live with my grandma. And yeah, now
Mm.
I don't feel myself. I don't feel whole, and I don't feel my emotions well.
And it was all from going to the spiritual teacher.
Hmm?
It was all from this interaction with a spiritual teacher, or it was
Um, it
combination.
was uh, it was I 1 year ago I wanted to travel to him, but I found I traveled to Egypt, and then the next year I called another spiritual teacher, and he said, "Why don't you book a holiday?" And then I saw he was on the beach. He had a beach and something, and then I had a feeling I don't felt well, and then I had the feeling maybe I shouldn't go there, or I should go there. And then he wrote a message to me. He found it nice that I come to him, and then I booked everything, and I told even the person, because of I talked with the person who is organizing everything, and I told her I'm not feeling well. Should I come? And she said, "Yeah, come," and everything. And then I traveled to Munich, and even in Munich, I felt it was too much for me.
Mm.
And then we traveled. I felt bad, and then I was in a hotel, and I felt it was too much.
Mm.
And then I went to the bus station, and I had that imagination from him that it was too big, and something in my system changed. And I traveled there, and I felt it was too near. I was too near to him, or something. And
Mm.
yeah, it's just something changed, and I found a woman. She could help me, but we had 1 session, and something solved in me. But she didn't want to work with me. She said, "I don't want to work with you again. I'm sorry."
Mm.
And then I'm looking for somebody to help
Mm.
me out of this.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's really like a big thing to do on a live stream. Like I don't I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to laugh. I'm not. I'm just laughing at what it's like to be human. Like sometimes our problems are quite complex, and then I think that to do that, to go into that, because I think I'd need to know a lot more about the situation, about the feelings, about what's happening inside of you. Like we are really complex beings. It's not just
yeah,
one thing.
you are a bit more than a human. I think you have a whole feeling, a more presence feeling, or you're more present, maybe. I
Don't
think.
know. I don't know, but that's beside that's beside the point. Like I think that if we were going to talk about that, we'd have to go a lot more into what's happening in you, and so I would be reluctant to go there on live stream. Like I would be happy to go into the investigation if you wanted to, as to who you think this person is now that you're telling the story about. But if you wanted to work on the story and work on the psychology and work on what happened, then I think that we'd need to speak like just one-to-one outside a live stream, because I think it's too big to speak about. Like there's too much going on in that story. So, but I would happily point it out, like you're like who is it that thinks that they're existing in that story?
Yeah, I think that's a bit difficult for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's okay. We don't have to do that either. But I think with that particular, it just feels too vast for me. Like it's like there's nothing to particularly narrow it down to, like a feeling or a feeling in your chest. I can speak more abstractly, and I can speak about like the body-mind mechanism. So I could do that, and it might not be that helpful for you, but at least it's something. Like it's something that we can go into. Like maybe what you need more is to really go into the feelings, to go into your body, and to really need someone to guide you. But I can speak more on the surface level rather than really going deep with you individually now. And so what I would do if we were in a one-to-one session is I would get you to explore your chakras and how you feel in this moment. Like so what's going on in your chakras and how everything relates to that. So we have with this complex being. So like I was speaking about earlier, we have this ego that we're attached to, and then we also have inside the ego, we have this feeling body, and we have all these chakras. In the body, we have 7 main chakras, but then we've got all little tiny chakras all over the body, and then there's chakras outside of the body. But we've got 7 main chakras in the body. And what happens when you identify and your mind is telling you a story about you, we have all these deep schemas that we believe, like I'm not good enough. Nobody loves me, nobody sees me, I can't do things, like life is too difficult. We can also believe the positive, but I find most people believe the negative about themselves.
Yeah,
like I'm stuck, I'm not good enough.
I think my main problem is that negative thinking. I don't know why I came into it, but I only feel it negative feelings, and I don't know why. It's only a negative spiral.
The reason it is because there's identification with the body mind, and then your chakras are in the negative, because identification is a negative thing inherently. As soon as you identify, you feel like you've lost love, you feel like you've lost part of yourself, and then your chakras tend to vibrate in the negative and pick up negative stories about themselves from the environment or genetically from what's passed on from your parents. So you've got like the depressive stories, like I hate life, I hate other people, I'm frustrated, things aren't good enough, nothing's good enough for me, I can't provide for myself, I'm hopeless, I'm useless, like all these negative stories. And when we're really identified, all our chakras are vibrating in the negative stories, and then our mind it's not saying those stories out loud, but what it's doing is it's either finding fault with the world. So it's their fault, they're to blame. It's because I haven't got a house. It's because other people are rude. It's because of coronavirus. It's because of my dog. It's because of my kid. It's because of my mom. It's because of what happened to me in the past. And then the other thing is inside, it's because of me. I'm guilty. I did something bad. I'm a bad person. Shame. So we have these polarities, and they all come from the idea that you are a separate person, you're separate from life. Or they don't all come from that, but a lot of what they come from, like I'm separate from life.
A few months ago, I felt really connected to everything, to my life, to outside, to inside, to people.
Yeah.
And then something happened about months, and then I came to that negativity, and I don't feel connected to the outside.
So what I would say, when you felt more connected, there was an expansion, and then what happened a few months ago, in a way, is irrelevant. Something contracted in you, and now what you've got to deal with is what you're feeling now. So you're feeling a lot of contraction, and then there has to be a presence to that contraction, and it's through presence that the chakras begin to change. As the chakras become more balanced, the seeking becomes reduced, and then there is more of an expansion, and then there is a point where you have that awakening, but that's like further down the road. But you feel more expanded when the chakras aren't in the negative, so when you feel more good and healthy and balanced about yourself. So something happened a few months ago, and it's irrelevant. There was a contraction in you that happened, and so now it's bringing presence to what's actually happening in your body and in your system, and what narratives you're telling yourself. In a way, it's a gift when they're in the narrative of the negative, because then you see what you're identified with, what lies you're telling yourself. Yeah.
I can't say what story I'm telling myself. I just feel it. I just feel a bit negativity at the moment, and the only thing I feel better is with my friend, and my friend had no time. And
so let's look at that. Like, that's nice that you feel better with your friend, but just as something to jump off of, and because we can't go really deep into what's happening to you at the moment because it's just too complex to do in an online session. So let's just have, like, I'll just throw some ideas out there. So maybe what your body is saying on the unconscious level, which would be in the heart area, is loneliness, is feeling isolated and feeling loneliness. I think a lot of people feel like that with Corona at the moment. So there's feeling of loneliness, and you might not be conscious of that story. What you might be conscious of is seeking to get your friend's attention, seeking to get the therapist's attention, seeking to have contact with people. Because underneath in your heart, you feel not connected and you feel alone, and you feel maybe abandoned as well. And the way that you become conscious of this is not so much through the mind, because the mind lies. The mind is telling you, you need a friend, you need your friend to listen to you, you feel better with your friend. But what your body is telling you is a different story. And if you would pay attention maybe to your heart, this is just a suggestion, you might begin to feel in your heart area what's being said is, I'm lonely. And this isn't true. There is no loneliness, because who you truly are is everything. It's a karma, and it's an energy that's rising in your chakra. And while it's believed, then you're seeking for it. So while you believe it and you're not conscious of that feeling in your heart, then you're seeking to get love from people. And then you're looking at everyone that rejects you. You're looking at society that rejects you. And you're feeling not good enough. And you're feeling this pain and this contraction. What happens in awakening is the coming back to the body and a recognizing of these deep lies that we tell ourselves. And through bringing consciousness to them, it breaks them. Because in future, when you're reaching out to get attention from people, you, instead of reaching out, maybe you still do reach out to get attention from people, that's not necessarily bad, but while you're doing it, you're also conscious of the ache in the heart and the feeling that's saying, I'm not good enough to be loved, or I'm going to be abandoned. And then you'll begin to break that deep-rooted idea that getting love is in the flow of life, getting love is in others, and you'll begin to see that there is a love that's in you. There is a beingness and a presence that's in you right here, right now, and it's always there. What hides it is these identifications with these schemas, these deep-rooted schemas that are in the body, and that's the lie.
Okay. And how can I change my behaviors? Because I think I had good behaviors a few months ago, and now I think my behaviors changed. And,
so when you begin to contract, you feel bad,
And I had a psychologist, and I felt more maybe not more expensive, but had more room inside. And I think I resonate with some people when I do something. Something happens suddenly. Some people text me unexpectedly, and when
Then you maybe
it's
feel more loved, but it is like an instantaneous thing that's happening. In that moment, you feel more loved, and then there's a shift in your system. You feel more a part of the group, and there's a shift in your system. It could be energetical as well, we don't know, but I'm just pointing out from what I know, and from what I know is that most of the time we all have these deep-rooted schemas inside our chakras, and they've come from your past, the seeming past, and we retell these stories to ourselves, and then it creates this seeking action. So I feel unloved is a deep-rooted schema. It's a pain in the heart, and then there is a seeking for love in the external. And waking up is really surrendering and detaching from the idea that anything in the flow, anything that you tell yourself, anything that you feel is going to complete you is not going to complete you. The completion comes from the consciousness and the empty looking and that beingness. It's really that, and really seeing it beyond anything. Like, even if there is energetic shifts with certain people, seeing that it's not them, that it's not the teacher, that there is something else happening. There might seemingly be some connections, but in the end, it's everybody's birthright, this beingness. What's lying, what's hiding it is because the chakras go tight, the energy feels very contracted in the body, and then there is the narrator saying, I'm incomplete, I've got to get this, I've got to do that, there's something wrong. And then it really feels real. And the answer always is consciousness.
I think I have also feelings that are stuck in my body, and I can solve them by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when your body is in contraction, you are going to do more negative things and more self-destructive things. So your behaviors will change. When your body feels more expansive, then you'll be more than likely more loving and more open. Two things. But nice. Maybe that's enough for tonight. But yeah, thank you for calling and exposing those things and sparking off conversation. I'm sorry we couldn't go really deeply into your personal story, but it's not so easy on a live stream to do that.
Yeah, I think that also. Maybe I book a session with you.
Yeah, maybe. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling. Have
Thanks,
a nice
Chris.
evening.
Yeah. Thank you, and you. Bye.
To the people also. Bye.
Bye. Nice.